Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Morning Garden. Get ready to go out and look around for some more good gardening supplies that are definitely on sale. And I thought I'd show you. I bought these. Bought this garlic at one of the Korean stores in my location, and I put them in some water to root them. And you see, they rooted pretty good. And these are cheaper than buying them from the garden centers of the box stores where you get a couple pieces for close to $7, $8. See how this one came out? And all those are roots ready to go in the ground. And this one here, well, this one here is the one that has a least amount of roots on it, which is here. And I'm put those in the ground soon. I'll put them in tomorrow, actually. And they are, this is the worst one for some reason. See how dark it is, spots on it. Very little roots. Very little roots at all. And so I'm like, I'll find out why that's going on. But they split open in the top. Here you can see what they did here. They kind of split open. They're ready to grow. And they're growing now, actually. But I'm going to put these in the ground. Put around plenty of what they call um, compost made from wood chips. I'll usually let it sit for about a year. I got that idea from Food Forest Permaculture. Let it sit for a year because I used to, you know, be a little bit confused on that fact that you have to let it sit. Um, so wood chips are a slow feed. It helps improve your soil. It does. Um, and you could also use what we call chop and drop. That's also very important because it helps fertilize your soil, build your soil up. You're just building your soil up. And when it comes to fertilizing, all you're doing is trying to replace in your soil what's missing or low in amounts. Most soils, most soils are low in what we call nitrogen. So pay attention to those numbers. And if you have any confusion about your garden, you can always try to get a soil test and let them know what you're trying to grow and then go from there because no soil is perfect. Some of the best soil is clay soil. Always remember that. It holds on to nutrients and it doesn't dry out as fast. And so sometimes people think when they have clay soil that they have a problem, and you really don't have a problem. Um, but if your soil is lacking nitrogen, all fruits and vegetables, all plants are going to kind of grow slow and not produce very well if you're low in nitrogen. I say I like garlic. Oh, hello, how you doing? I like garlic. Creek Walker, yeah, yeah, garlic. I love garlic. That's why it's one of the first things I try to get ready for this gardening season. And when I found at the Korean store garlic that was $2 for those five large bulbs, yeah, I jumped on it. And when I jumped on it, I said they had the roots cut off so close that I said, "Wow!" I said I would love to see some roots on these before I put them in the ground. And I thought about it, and I said, "Wait a minute! I know how to do this." I remember, starting garlic in the past and getting it ready for the garden. So I remember let it sit in just a small, just enough to cover the bottom, just enough to just that much water in the bottom to cover the bottom. And within a week, it started developing roots. But when I go to the box stores, they got a tiny bit of garlic you're gonna get for close to $10 if you try to grow. And it's like you're like, wow, is that the only way to go? That's why it pays to shop around. I also bought a ton of ginger from the Korean stores. Now that one should be in your arsenal if you like ginger. Ginger is so good, and it makes your stomach feel good. It makes your body feel good. Check with your doctor first because some people consider it like a medicine, and it does a good job at making your body feel good, but um, it's so expensive. And if you buy it from the Korean stores, from my experience, I found I get a break on the price as opposed to trying to buy it from what we call that. If you go to a grocery store and you try to buy it, you get like one or two pieces, and they'd be like $4. I bought a whole bunch of ginger for $4. This year will be the most ginger I put in the ground. Is what I put in the ground. It'll be the most ginger, and I have, like you already know, if you've been watching my channel, I have tons of garlic. Excuse me, I have tons of fertilizers, and a lot of times you don't need all that fertilizer. All you need is to find out what your soil lacks, and then make sure you have that. People are trying to buy lots of different and it's confusing when you go to try to get fertilizer. They got fertilizer for roses, fertilizer for uh, they say tomatoes, and fertilizer for this and fertilizer for that. When in reality, they're basically the same. They basically the same. The needs of a plant, a lot of plants are basically the same. You don't need to buy all these fancy fertilizers. But the marketing teams at the fertilizing companies know that if they put on that package and they let you see package colors of big, beautiful, bold roses, and let you and tell you that you need this for your roses because your roses won't be big and bold if you don't use our fertilizer. But if you look at go in the store sometime, you get a chance, do this for me. Go in the store, look up different brand name of fertilizers for roses, and look at the NPK on it, and look at and see how different they are. Yet all of them claim to be better for your roses, but they'll say nitrogen 6%, 4% phosphorus and potassium, or 6%. Uh, and then you'll see another package will be totally different. Another package will be different from that. And these are experts. These are experts saying, we know what your roses need, but every last one of them different. So that can't be it can't be right. So I tell you like this: um, you got to find out what your soil needs and make sure that it has in its profile, and your plants everything will do better. Now, most soils lack nitrogen in order for plants to grow well. Like if you have over the years, you've been noticing that your tomatoes grow real slow now. They don't really grow fast. Your okra doesn't grow well. You don't produce enough cucumbers like you once did. There's something missing, and it's up to the gardener to find out what it is that's missing, and make sure that the that one particular chemical is back in your soil, and then your soil will start acting like a champion again. Um, and so I've seen it all. I mean, even I'm guilty of some of it. I've made brews up, what they call it. I made teas from weeds, and really, you don't know what the chemical balance of that is because you never ever tested it. You believe it works, um, and I'm gonna tell you like this: a lot of people are doing things in their garden that they've seen others do, or they watch these videos and they go and say this must work because this guy on this other video he's using it, and you used to see the big heads of cabbages and the big pieces of corn he's growing or whatever, but his soil is totally, absolutely, totally different from yours, totally different, and you have to find out what you're missing in your soil to give the life back. Now, adding compost is always a plus, as I said earlier. But it takes it months, months, and months for it to actually start building your soil up. So if you plan, let's say you plan on growing this year, and you say, well, I'm gonna go out in the yard and I'm gonna put down plenty compost, and I'm gonna put down plenty fertilizer, and I'm gonna be off and running. It's not how that works. First of all, you got to know what the right fertilizer that's got to go down, and make sure you're doing it in the right amounts. And you got to also know that when you put the compost down, it may take the compost months or even year or so to actually have an effect on your soil, because the molecules are much too large for your plants to take in, and that has to break down, and it has to break down over time. And that's how that works. That's just the way that works. You cannot rush that process. You cannot rush it. And when you put all that, and you go to those box stores and you buy all that compost is not even ready, and they selling it, um, but they're selling it, and that compost is not ready. It's got wood pieces in it. You could see them clearly. You got people going out buying manure fertilizers that's full of wood chips, that's not even broken down. You don't know where the cows are. Most of those cows that are in those bags, their waste that's in those bags, that stuff has been they've been through pharmaceuticals in a sense. And they got guys on here and ladies on here selling, oh yeah, get this cow manure stuff here. I ain't gonna call them no names. But if you watch them, you'll see them talking about, oh, get this cow manure, and they telling you something that's not true. They're telling you something not true. That cow manure is not gonna make your garden grow any better this year. It's gonna take time for that stuff to break down. It's going to take time. You put it over your garden. You could flood your garden with it and put 4 to 6 inches of it on top of your garden throughout. One, you're going to spend a lot of money because the bags are like $5 a bag. That's not going to cover much of an area. But if, let's say, you did have the money and you covered all your garden, 40 by 60 with that, you're going to spend a lot of money. And when you put it down, you're still not going to have no decent garden this year. Why? Why are you not going to have a decent garden this year? Because the plants can't ingest that, because the molecules are too big. It takes too long to break down, and they will not be able to feed off of that until it breaks down. So you put it on there and you say, well, I'm going to put it on there and leave it there all winter. You stand a better chance when spring comes. But if you put it on there in the spring, nature don't feed stuff like that. Nature feeds where it drops the leaves in the fall, and it overwinters, and it breaks down. And then when spring comes around, some of that food is available for those plants, and not all at one time. It takes time for that stuff to break down. But if you want to um, get a head start, there are fertilizers that you can use, that will go directly to that plant and make a difference. And that's the way that works. Now I got to go up here to the store, uh, and take back some items I purchased last night. I got overzealous, and I didn't need those items like that. I don't even use that in my garden. And I bought it, and I said, let me. Hello, Morning Gardener. I love watching and listening. Thanks for your gardening wisdom. Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I try. I love it. I know I got a problem. I'm addicted to this. I'm addicted to this. I love it. But you want to do the right things to your garden. You don't want to keep doing things that everybody's talking about on the internet, and they don't know what they're talking about. Some of them are actually trying to help, but they don't know what they're talking about. And every year you go through and you get disappointed when you see, I spent all this money. I bought these nice fancy seeds because they said if I buy this seed, it's going to be right. And they always mention certain names. Get Johnny seeds, or get this seed, or get that. Look, there a lot of them work for companies. A lot of them work for companies. They work for companies. They are salespeople or becoming salespeople about gardening because they get little kickbacks. Like some of them get big bags of cow manure. The company just sends it to them. buy the hundreds and hundreds of pounds of it. They just send it to them. And all they do to them is say, make sure you mention us in your ad, make sure you mention us in your video, because that's going to keep these bags coming. And you know, now they're forcing some of them to put a little emblem at the top of their page saying that this is a commercial embedded into this video. You're absolutely right. It's a commercial because the guy's now working for that particular fertilizer company. He once was not working for that company. Now he is. And you look at his property. He's got the best looking property. He's got all this equipment that he's working with. And you look at that and say, how is he affording all of that? And he's just a simple retired man because he's working with a companies. Companies supply that stuff. And when he talks about the tools he use here, he said, I got this from this particular company. It's a really nice seed dropper. And it's a really nice, and when you go online and you price that stuff and see what that stuff costs. The problem I'm having is this. You should not have to be putting out all of your money to grow decent cucumbers, to grow decent watermelons, to grow decent okra, to grow decent cabbage and lettuce and collard greens. You should not be spending an arm and a leg. But if you listen to these guys and these ladies that are on here pumping out the word to buy, you will be broke. And at that point, you will totally have to rely on your garden because you're not going to be able to go to no grocery store. You can't afford it because you're spending it up in garden tools. The simplest way to put it is this. There are farmers out there, men and women. Those are the ones I'm talking to. For the most part, they're broke. And they can still outgrow any of those gardeners that are putting all this money into the ground behind companies because they know what to put in the ground. They know what grows best in their locations. They know all the little tips that make things work for them. So when they go out there and they growing watermelons, it's no challenge for them because they know what the watermelon needs. They know it's a heavy feeding fruit. They know that it requires a certain amount of water, and they know what they're doing because they've been passed down by old people, taught him how to do things, and they paid attention. So the salespeople at these big companies, they're selling the fertilizer and selling the soil in the bag. You should not, in any kind of way, be buying soil in a bag. I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend nobody. You should not be buying soil in a bag. There's no way. With all this soil around you and everywhere you go, you should be buying soil in a bag. It should not happen. It should not happen. And if you knew how to collect those leaves in the fall, you should not be buying tons and tons and tons of fertilizer. You should not be buying leaf mold in bags. You should not be buying cow manure in bags. You should not be buying any kind of compost in bags because the stuff is free. The stuff is absolutely free. And they're selling all of this stuff to us every single chance they get to keep their companies propped up rich. And they tell you things that are crazy. Different fertilizers, one for roses and one for corn and one for tomatoes and one for this and one for that. If you were to follow that kind of logic, you would have shelves full of bags of fertilizer trying to and let me tell you something else about that I learned over the years. Organic fertilizers are slow feeders. True. The molecules of that fertilizer is just large. It's like you trying to feed uh, a little newborn baby a steak. Eventually, it'll be able to eat a steak, but it can't eat a steak right now. It can it can kind of kind of gum on it, but it cannot eat a steak. A plant needs the molecules that are small and tiny enough to they can drink in the nutrients. And the only way they can do it if the nutrients is a certain size. There are fertilizers that are small enough for the plant to ingest, but not organic fertilizers. Organic fertilizers are so large, it takes them months to break down. It takes them months to break down to feed your plants. So sometimes you can put down. Um, let me show you. I'm gonna put a bag in front of you. Something I saw at the store. I'll be right back. Now this is just a fertilizer. That's all it is. It doesn't matter what brand name it is. It doesn't matter. See this right here? It could be any fertilizer. Just keep this in mind. It could be any fertilizer. And look what it says. Look what's got on the front. It's got great for flowers and great for peppers or whatever. Now it says 926 nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Okay, so you got you got the chemical makeup of this. It's a good fertilizer, but do not put this down in your plants and say it's made by Miracle Grow, which is one of the biggest companies out there. Mostly everything you see in the garden department has their name on it. Okay, here's what the deal is. You could put this down around your plants, whether you side dress it, where you put it in a hole where you just dug. This fertilizer is a good fertilizer. Don't expect for your plants to jump out of the ground. Don't expect for it to start feeding your uh, your plants in 2 days, 4 days, 5 days, 10 days. Do not expect it because it's not going to happen. This is not going to happen. It takes time for this fertilizer to break down, to get to the small enough size for your plant to drink it in. Okay? So you have to find number one, if you need fertilizer, that's the first thing you got to do. Find out if you need it. Because if you put now, you're just as good to put down. It is. It's good to put down. If you want to put it around your plants and know that it's there as a backup, or you know that it's there to slowly break down. But if you put this around your plant and say, I just fed my plants, I just watered my plants, I'm all set to go. Your plants could be sitting there for days starving because it cannot drink this in. It could be sitting there for days. And you don't want to do that. You want to get a fertilizer that it can drink in quickly. Put this down around it. Let it break down slowly. When it rains, when you water it, let it break down slowly. But do not put it down and say, I'll put it down. I fed them yesterday, so they're good to go. Because they're not going to eat this for a long time. Long time. Here's another one. Some of you can tell me what this is. Back in the day, they had me thinking, because people sometimes can mess with you. Let's see what we got here. It's got kind of fuzzy. There we go. This is eggshells. I had a whole bunch of it in this bag. Eggs got more expensive, so I stopped buying them suckers. I said, the heck with those eggs. I don't want them. But anyway, here we go. This is eggshells put in a blender and broken down into powder. You put this in there around your plants in the hole. It may take it up to a year before it can start feeding on that stuff because it got to break down. It could take a long time for this to benefit your plants. Hello, Food Farms Permaculture. All right now. And when you put food down around your plants, keep in mind, if it's organic, it's going to take a little time. It's going to take a little time. You want to make certain that you are paying close attention to your plants. Yeah, they look like they can tell you what's going on they can look at you. They could definitely, turn yellow a little bit and that sort of thing. But plants can starve while you thinking you fed them. So find out what your soil needs. That's the first step. Find out what your soil needs. You got the little test kits. You could try using one of them if you know how to use them, or you can send it to the professionals and let them tell you and tell them, say, hey, I'm trying to grow this, and this is how I need to know what is my soil lacking. You want to know what it's lacking because a whole bunch of stuff is in your soil that is still good soil. I mean, a lot of you think you got crummy soil and you really don't. You could have one element missing from your soil and it throws off the rest of it. And that's the reason why you're not growing um, like you should be. Ever wonder why your tomatoes aren't popping? You're just getting a couple every year, 3 or 4 tomatoes, and you've been waiting. You're trying to figure out why a large vegetable such as corn or watermelon really won't grow on your property right now. And it's because there's not enough of something there. And that's the reason why, or you didn't plant it correctly in a sunny location, or you didn't water it properly. And a lot of times, one of the most important things you can get done is learn the most important thing you get done. Learn how to water your plants. Don't think you know how to water your plants because I've been doing it this way for years and it works. And find out what is the correct method for you to water your type of plant. Because a lot of times people are watering too much, which is just as bad as not watering enough, or they're watering um, to the point where they're drowning their plants, or they're not giving them enough water, or they water them at the wrong time of day. Which and you want to make sure you're trying to follow some kind of way that nature is doing it, so that you're doing it correctly. Plants do better when they're watered in the morning. They do worse when you water them in the hot heat of the day. In some cases, and they also are worse when you water them late at night. So the water can sit on them leaves all night long, turn it into some kind of weird growth that could hurt your plants. And so do me a favor, if you get time, some of you might, subscribe to my channel. If you like the content, and if you don't, God darn it, don't come back here because you're not going to like it. You can say, last time I listened to this guy, he wasted 30 minutes of my time. But if you like what I'm putting in my messages, just let me know. Hey, Napoleon, we enjoyed your show. Or hey, Morning Gardener, we enjoyed your show. And let me know, because I'm going to try to give the content, because I want to see people with the big, bountiful gardens, because I like watching the videos when people say, look at this, I grew this cucumber and it's 8 pounds. Well, maybe not 8 pounds, but I grew this cucumber. It's a whole lot of them this year. I'm so happy and like that. And one gentleman actually gave me a shout out at one point. He gave me a shout out, and I appreciate that. I still kept a copy of it and I watch it sometime. He said, I got this idea how to plant these watermelon seeds from the Morning Gardener. And he mentioned me like 3 times in his video, and I do appreciate that. But at any rate, leave your comments. I will answer. And I appreciate every last one of you. I'm surprised all of y'all are up today and jumping online, because this is the largest group I've had in, well, this is the largest group I ever had. I don't know. I'm not that popular online, but I try to get the message out there. I'm like Food Fathers Permaculture. He's out there and he'll give you some good, solid information. He'll give it to you. So I want you to also check him out if you haven't already. And there's a lot of other good ones out there that'll give you some good information. And let's see. Nature 9 and family. It's good to see you out there. It's all of you out there. Yeah, look at this. Oh my goodness. I see everybody jumping in, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And I want you to have a good day. I got to go take this stuff back to Home Depot. I got kind of crazy last night and bought some stuff and bought too much, and I'm not going to ever use that. So I got to take it back and put some money back on my books, so to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Morning Garden. Thank you very much for tuning in. I do appreciate you.